who thinks of them, anyone who thinks of themselves as a devotee of Krishna should also be thinking of themselves as a devotee of Shiva. So that needs to be unpacked. It's like a terse statement by Prabhupada that needs commentary. And in my writing of this article for Back to Godhead was basically, I'm thinking to myself, I'm commenting, my whole article was a commentary on this one seemingly terse statement. And it's sometimes confusing. So hopefully we'll be unpacking it, making it more clear as the presentation goes on. So when Prabhupada says that every devotee of Lord Krishna is also a devotee of Lord Shiva, in that purport, he launches into a glorification of Gopishwara Mahadeva. So in my mind, when Prabhupada is saying that every devotee of Lord Krishna is also a devotee of Lord Shiva, Prabhupada is basically saying he wants everyone to be a devotee of Lord Gopishwara Shiva, a very specific aspect of Shiva. And Prabhupada talks about Gopishwara only twice in his purports, but with a little bit of research, devotees can find out that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Gaudiya Acharyas, including the Goswamis, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, many others, they also align with this assessment that devotees of Lord Krishna are also devotees of Lord Shiva, but the specific devotee of Lord Shiva that we align ourselves with is Gopishwara Mahadeva. And even today, I'm aware, amongst my God brothers especially, there's a kind of a modern movement, so to speak, within ISKCON that actually many devotees are considering that this understanding needs to be replicated. The metaphysical understanding of the benefits of Gopishwara Mahadeva within ISKCON needs to be replicated with shrines potentially dedicated to Gopishwara. So we'll get into that a little bit more as the seminar goes on. So begin with, we're looking at Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, such an important devotee. And he's also written a very well-known Vaishnava song. It's titled Sri Vrajadam Mahamrita, the Nectarian Glories of Vrajadam. Everyone knows it. It's Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Sri Govinda Gopinath Madadan Mohan. And it goes on as many verses, but in this bhajan, there's one line poetically flows like this: Jaya Jaya Gopishwara Vrindavan Maj. Means all glories to Gopishwara Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan to protect the holy Dham. For his service of divine protection, Gopishwara Shiva is revered as one of the most important deities within Chaitanya Vaishnavism. The ancient, unique Gopishwara temple in Vrindavan is glorified in Srila Prabhupada's books and in many other Vaishnava Acharyas' writings. These spiritual preceptors teach that an aspiring Krishna Bhakta cannot fully enter the spiritual realm of Vrindavan without first getting Gopishwara's permission and benedictions. So I would assume everyone is listening to this seminar, they've been to Vrindavan, and if they haven't been to Vrindavan, they want to go to Vrindavan. So this is going to be hopefully very informative how to enter Vrindavan to the highest benefit for your own progress. And it has everything to do with Gopishwara Mahadeva. So I'm going to read a little bit from one of Prabhupada's purports in the fourth canto. This is from fourth canto, chapter 30, text 38. The Prachetas are speaking to Vishnu. Okay, so here's the verse. Dear Lord, by virtue of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is very dear to you and who is your most intimate friend, we were fortunate to attain you. You are the most expert physician capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. On account of our great fortune, we have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet. So the Prachetas are in this Bhagavatam verse are saying, it was by the mercy of Shiva that they achieved Vishnu's lotus feet. So here's the purport that Prabhupada talks, gives his nice commentary on this point. Prabhupada's purport. It has been said that without taking shelter of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, one cannot attain relief from the clutches of Maya, the repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. The Prachetas received the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the grace of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the supreme devotee of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, this verse, Vaishnavanamita Shambhu. The most exalted Vaishnava is Lord Shiva, and those who are actually devotees of Lord Shiva follow Lord Shiva's advice and take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. The so-called devotees of Lord Shiva, who are simply after material prosperity, are in a way deceived by Lord Shiva. It does not actually deceive them, but because Lord Shiva has no business deceiving people. But because the so-called devotees of Lord Shiva want to be deceived, Lord Shiva, who is very easily pleased, allows them all kinds of material benedictions. These benedictions might ironically result in the destruction of the so-called devotees. For instance, Ravana took all material benediction from Lord Shiva, but the result was that he was ultimately destroyed with his family, kingdom, and everything else because he misused Lord Shiva's benediction. Because of his material power, he became very proud and puffed up, so that he dared kidnap the wife of Lord Ramchandra. In this way, Ravana was ruined. To get material benedictions from Lord Shiva is not difficult, but actually, these are not actual benedictions. The Prachetas received benedictions from Lord Shiva, and as a result, they attained the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This is real benediction. And here Prabhupada says in the purport, the gopis also worship Lord Shiva in Vrindavan, and the Lord is still staying there as Gopishwara. The gopis, however, pray that Lord Shiva bless them by giving them Lord Krishna as their husband. There is no harm in worshiping the demigods, provided that one's aim is to return home back to Godhead. So Prabhupada goes on in the purport how people generally approach the demigods for material benefit. The famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 7:20, those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods, following the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So the point is that Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, Prabhupada says, are so intimately connected that there is no difference in opinion. The actual fact is, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arsa Britya, the only supreme master is Krishna, and all others are his devotees or servants. So nowhere in the Prabhupada says, nowhere in revealed scriptures does actually Lord Shiva claim to be equal to Lord Vishnu, but this is the creation of the so-called devotees of Lord Shiva, who claim that Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are one. This is strictly forbidden in the Vaishnava Tantras. Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are intimately connected as master and servants. Shiva, Virinchi Nutam, said. Vishnu is honored and offered obeisances by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. To consider that they are all equal is a great offense. They are all equal in the sense that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all others are his eternal servants. So that's the end of Prabhupada's purport. It's a long purport, but it gets into the gist of what we're trying to communicate tonight. That the gopis, they were worshiping Lord Shiva in Vrindavan. Now, generally, we don't like to think about how the gopis are worshiping Lord Shiva, but this is actually our correct understanding coming from the Goswamis. The gopis were not praying for material benediction. This is the whole key. They were praying to get Krishna as their husband. So, and Prabhupada says, there's no harm in worshiping the demigods, provided that one's aim is to return home back to Godhead. So Prabhupada here is giving the nuanced understanding that Krishna does not give Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. It is okay to worship devatas, including Lord Shiva, if the intention is to advance in Krishna Bhakti. So it's all about developing proper intention. Without understanding this essential point, Gopishwara Mahadeva cannot be properly understood or respected at all. So I'm going to stop there. Any questions at this point anyone has? We'll go on to the next section, if not. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I don't know if people can hear.
You might have to repeat. I'll read them. First question is Radharani not the topmost devotee? The second question is, at the broader...
There's many topmost devotees. Radharani is the topmost devotee. Giriraj is described as a topmost devotee. Shiva is described as a topmost devotee. The point is, there's many devotees. Lord Shiva is up there.
And at Vrindavan, there's a story of Lakshmi who wants to get to Vrindavan. She's stopped by Radharani and not Shiva. Another one. Lakshmi wants to enter Vrindavan.
Where is this from?
I believe it's from Pakistan.
Okay, let's keep the questions to the point, because we got a lot of material to go through. Okay, we can discuss later on also. Okay, so I don't want to dismiss you easily, but we can discuss more later about these other aspects that you want to bring into the discussion. Anyone else there online? Deepadatri, is someone monitoring this?
Yes, Prabhu. Hi, Krishna. Okay. So if you'd like to ask any questions, you're most welcome to raise your hands, and then we can choose.
Yeah, because as I go through the presentation, it'll be lots of times I'm going to stop, but the time, I hope that there will be some questions and answers. Anyway, we have a lot of information to go through. That doesn't matter right now. It's okay. So the second part,
Prachur is also online, so he'll be monitoring the hands as well for questions.
Okay, any questions? I can't hear you.
No.
Okay, let me just continue. Okay, so the next part is called, there's a wrong way and a right way to venerate Lord Shiva. So there's a statement by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Each day I worship Gopishwara Mahadeva, who was worshipped with deep devotion by the gopis. He, Gopishwara, quickly fulfilled the gopis' desire to attain the supremely precious jewel in the form of the embrace of the son of Nanda Maharaj. So Shiva is undoubtedly a very mysterious devotee of the Supreme Lord. Understanding and appreciating the intimate relationship between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva is difficult, but it's very important also to understand what is that relationship. Krishna advises us in the Bhagavad Gita not to worship the demigods for material profit, and this would include Lord Shiva, of course, who is known as Mahadeva, or the most prominent of all the devatas. However, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's relating how Lord Chaitanya, appreciates Lord Shiva as the ideal Vaishnava. Regularly, he visited the temple of Vishveshvara while staying in Varanasi. Now, this gets into a separate topic I'm not going to get into now, but I did write a separate Back to Godhead article on Lord Chaitanya's very intimate connection with Lord Shiva in Varanasi. Again, this has to be understood correctly. Either at the end of the seminar or later on, everyone will be given the actual links to those two Back to Godhead articles so they can read in their own time. So Krishnadas Kaviraj, also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, is also explaining how Lord Chaitanya, he visited many prominent temples of Lord Shiva, especially in his visits to South India. But while in Varanasi, with Kashi Vishwanath, he had this very intimate connection and would regularly go to that temple of Lord Shiva. Okay, now I'm repeating again. I'm going to quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam 4:24-30, where Prabhupada says, "It is said, Vaishnavanam Yatashambhu, Lord Shiva, is the best of all devotees. Therefore, all devotees of Lord Krishna are also devotees of Lord Shiva." Then Prabhupada says, in Vrindavan, there is Lord Shiva's temple called Gopishwara. The gopis used to worship not only Lord Shiva, but Katyayani or Durga as well. But their aim was to attain the favor of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna does not disrespect Lord Shiva, but worships Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. Consequently, whenever a devotee worships Lord Shiva, he prays to Lord Shiva to achieve the favor of Krishna, and he does not request material profit. So this is the key. This is the key. If we are to get involved with any kind of veneration at all to Lord Shiva, even Prabhupada's bringing up Durga or Katyayani, it has to be done with a proper intent. So generally, when devotees give a presentation about the demigods, they never get into the subtleties and nuances of what is that proper intent. But this is actually the essence of understanding what is Gopishwara Mahadeva, because ultimately Gopishwara Mahadeva helps devotees. How is he helping devotees? He's helping devotees deepen their love, their devotion, their appreciation to Radha and Krishna. So I'm going to skip over some of this information because actually I'm realizing time is of the essence here. We've already lost a lot of time.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
There's a hand up from Mani Manjari Mataji.
Okay, let her have a question. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so
Hi,
much
Bo,
for like
Manjari.
this wonderful seminar.
Manjari.
I want to ask about when Sada Shiva is combined with Mahavishnu in the form of a Daitacharya, he's considered Vishnu Tattva. But when he's apart from, when that form is not combined, he's considered a demigod. It's a bit confusing. And my understanding is that Gopeshwara Mahadeva is actually Sadashiva from the spiritual world.
Thank you, Mani Manjari. Yes, your understanding is correct. I was actually going to get into that later on into the seminar, but this is a technical issue. I can discuss it briefly now. It gets into an understanding of what is the distinction between Sadashiva and regular Shiva or Rudra or Shambhu. So there's three Sadashivas. That's Advaitacharya is Sadashiva, and Gopishwara is Sadashiva, and Nilakant, who drinks the poison from the churning of the milk ocean. These are all Sadashiva manifestations. So Sadashiva is complex and it confuses the devotees all the time. So as Advaitacharya, Sadashiva is Vishnu Tattva. He's also Mahavishnu Sadashiva. So it's not like he's a combination of Vishnu and Shiva. Sadashiva is Vishnu. So the manifestation of Nilakant, who looks like Shiva drinking the poison from the milk ocean, it's actually Sadashiva. It's also Vishnu. But you have to think of it this way. It's as if Vishnu, he puts on a Shiva costume. So internally, it's Vishnu. Externally, Vishnu looks like Shiva. And it's a very similar thing with Gopishwara Mahadev. In Vrindavan, Gopishwara Mahadev is worshipped as a Shiva lingam. There is a murti or deity form of Nandi, the bull. All the procedures are as they're worshiping a Shiva lingam. But the Vrajavasis, they all understand this is Sadashiva. And as Sadashiva, the internal ontological identity is Vishnu. So Gopishwara, we're getting into this is high level spiritual technology. But Gopishwara Mahadev, properly understood, is actually not Shiva. It's Vishnu. But the key to understanding it is it's Shiva on the outside, Vishnu on the inside, but there's a purpose behind it. The purpose is for the ultimate Leela of Krishna to manifest. So as I'm going to get into some of the story of how Gopishwara manifests, but keep this in mind, that this Gopishwara Mahadev, properly understood, yes, he's Shiva, and he's worshipped as Shiva, but his internal ontological identity is Vishnu. Now, in Vrindavan, on the appearance day of Advaita Acharya, who is also Sadashiva, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they all go to Gopishwara. There's no temple of Panchatattva, there's no temple of Advaita Acharya, but they want to honor Advaita Acharya. They honor Advaita Acharya at the shrine of Gopishwara, because they know the Sadashiva principle is also there in Advaita Acharya. So I don't know if I'm confusing you. You're asking a good question. I was hoping to get into it later on.
It's a perfect answer, actually, for me. Like, clears the
Yeah.
understanding that, like, Sadashiva is internally Vishnu.
Sadashiva is internally,
Vishnu.
the right word is ontologically, meaning his identity is actually Vishnu. But you have to understand, there's a purpose behind Shiva doing that, and that's for his own Leela enhancement. So Vishnu is manifesting as Gopishwara Mahadev. Why? He's doing it to help the devotees advance in Krishna consciousness. He's helping the devotees enter Vrindavan. He's helping the devotees develop an appreciation for Radha and Krishna. And ultimately, he's helping the devotees understand what is Rasa Leela. So Vishnu is Sadashiva. Gopishwara Mahadev is that same Sadashiva. But on the external level, it just twists the devotees' heads around. How can he be Vishnu when they see in Vrindavan it's a Shiva temple? The Vrajavasis understand this point. When ISKCON devotees or followers of Prabhupada, they go to Gopishwara, they may not understand these things. And I did not write about this in my Back to Godhead article because this was beyond the level of comprehension for congregational members. So you're asking a good question, and I'm not sure if I'm even able to communicate correctly or in a way that's understandable. But this is, again, when we talk about the enigma of Gopishwara Mahadev, there's layers of enigmas, there's layers of mysteries. So you're bringing up a good point, but it's part of the more elevated, refined spiritual technology that is generally not even discussed within ISKCON circles, this layer of understanding that Gopishwara is Sadashiva, that Sadashiva is Vishnu. So essentially, when we talk about devotees worshiping Gopishwara Mahadev, it's totally in line with Chaitanya Vaishnavism because what this Gopishwara Mahadev is actually not Shiva, it's Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Okay, now that I have everyone thoroughly confused, I have to move on. Let me put this down. Okay. This next section is titled Shiva's Confidential Relationship with Radha and Krishna. Okay, in the Hare Krishna movement, everything is focused actually on Radha and Krishna. Have you noticed? There's Radha Krishna temples, where Chaitanya is a combination of Radha and Krishna. The ultimate pastime within the Bhagavatam is about Radha and Krishna and Rasa Leela. A lot of times devotees don't want to talk about this. They say, whoa, that's way beyond my pay grade. But ultimately, if we're to talk about the Hare Krishna movement, if we're talking about the Hare Krishna mantra, it's all about Radha and Krishna. And Lord Shiva has a relationship with Radha and Krishna. And the best way to understand that relationship is to understand Lord Shiva as Gopishwara. So this shrine in Vrindavan is a 5,000-year-old Shiva Lingam deity. Okay, this shrine was rejuvenated 500 years ago when Lord Chaitanya came, and the Goswamis rejuvenated all of Vrindavan. But this shrine goes back 5,000 years. Lord Gopishwara has been pulsating, you could say, with his mysterious energies there in Vrindavan all these thousands of years. But my point is, Gopishwara is not some old deity. He's very relevant today, and he'll continue to be relevant for many thousands of years going into the future for all generations of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So to appreciate Gopishwara Shiva is to recognize that Krishna consciousness is about the development of sacred love. So the 5 chapters describing the dance of divine love, known as the Rasa Leela, are the very cynosure, or the very essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the way to understand that is that Lord Krishna himself, this is all discussed by Prabhupada himself in Krishna book and in other places. Lord Krishna, he expands himself into innumerable forms to dance with Srimati Radharani, who is the quintessential, you could say, goddess of divine love. And Radharani, she's expanding herself into countless gopis. And each gopi has its unique personality. Each gopi has its unique qualities and talents and abilities, all for the sake of fulfilling Krishna's endless desire to enjoy loving exchanges. So the essence of Rasa Leela is that it's all centered on Radha and Krishna, Radharani expanding herself into many forms for Krishna's pleasure. So all the gopis, we should not be thinking, as a mundane interpretation often is, that Krishna is cavorting with all these gopis who are married to other men. Actually, all the gopis are expansions of Radharani. But there are different expressions of varieties of personalities that Krishna is associating with. Now, again, generally, the topic of Rasa Leela is not talked about. My article on Gopishwara Mahadeva was a bit controversial with the editors, but they allowed it to be published for the general consumption of the masses of people. But here's a quote. I'm going to give a quote from Prabhupada, where Prabhupada talks about this also in public. So this is in 1973. Prabhupada's arriving at the Los Angeles temple. And he said in his arrival address, quote, "Unlimited happiness can be achieved when you go back home, back to Godhead. Krishna is eternal, and his pastimes are also eternal. Just join with Krishna. His rasa dance, his play with the cowherd boys, his dealing with his father and mother in Vrindavan. So this movement is to join Krishna's pastimes," end quote. So the Hare Krishna movement, we have to understand it's a tradition that deeply delves into the various aspects of a personal, loving relationship with God. There's no other theology in the world that comes close to explaining the various nuances and subtleties of love for God. The different traditions talk about love for God, but when you get into the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition and start studying the essence, it's actually totally astounding and amazing the amount of detail that is there and the understanding of how Radha and Krishna are ultimately expanding their divine love exchange within the spiritual world. This is the understanding that through the standard practices of Bhakti Yoga, devotees come to the Hare Krishna movement, they're taught the standard practices of Bhakti Yoga, but ultimately they have to understand what is the goal. The goal is to go back to the eternal spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, and join Krishna and his associates. And that this is the essence of what the Hare Krishna movement is about, how to enter into that transcendental non-dual realm. It's a spiritual realm, but it's a realm of infinite, expanding, divine love. In order to do that, it requires purity of heart. So this is where Gopishwara Shiva comes in. This is, like I said, if you understand Gopishwara correctly, you'll understand why he's so essential for the Hare Krishna movement. So Gopishwara is the designated protector of Vrindavan. He has a unique service of assisting all sincere devotees in their individual purification. He protects Vrindavan by purifying the devotees. Gopishwara Shiva is actually working as a guru in that sense. But Lord Shiva, as topmost Vaishnava, he is a guru. In fact, Shiva Tattva and Guru Tattva, big topic, but Shiva Tattva, Guru Tattva, they're interchangeable, they're interrelated. So at that point, I'm going to ask again for more questions. I'll go on to the next section, which is actually the story of how Gopishwara manifested, the story of Gopishwara. But before I do that, any questions?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, just one quick question about which was talked about earlier about Gopishwara Mahadeva being Sadashiva. Would it be correct to say that Sadashiva is Vishnu Tattva then?
Yes, this is the point I was making.
Uh-huh.
Sadashiva, correctly understood, Sadashiva is Vishnu Tattva. Sadashiva is Vishnu prior to becoming in contact with the material energy, which becomes transformed. So Vishnu is described in Brahma Samhita. Vishnu is compared to milk. Shiva is compared to yogurt. So before the milk gets transformed into yogurt, it has to get in touch with a souring agent. Yeah. A souring agent is the three modes of material nature. So Sadashiva is actually prior to becoming in contact with the material world. Sadashiva is milk, not yogurt. This is a topic that is often confused within the Hare Krishna movement. And it's not discussed enough because it's an important understanding. And
that's interesting. Yeah.
It begins with Advaita Acharya. We're all told Advaita Acharya is Sadashiva and Mahavishnu. Most devotees think, oh, he's Vishnu Shiva combination. No,
yeah.
Shiva is Vishnu. And I have references, I don't have them right at my disposal, where Prabhupada talks about that in a class, as well as answers a devotee's letter concerning that issue. And the best way Prabhupada puts it is to just think of Sadashiva as Vishnu. So in a similar way, Gopishwara, difficult concept, because if you go to Vrindavan, it's like, you could swear it's a Shiva Lingam, and it is a Shiva Lingam externally, but internally, Vishnu Tattva. Again, I could not put this information into my Back to Godhead article. It was This is
Yeah, because
this is
it's like
this,
it kind of
this
goes
is
a bit off
graduate.
topic
This is
into
exactly this is
yeah.
graduate study level of the technicalities of Gopishwara, but the basics I was able to put in there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Does it
That's very helpful.
make sense? Have you been to Gopishwara in Vrindavan?
No, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you,
Anyway,
Prabhu. That's very helpful.
Okay, I'm glad actually the devotees are asking these questions because this gets to the essence of who Gopishwara is. But okay, before I go any further, it's almost 6 o'clock. I know that, but I'm going to read the story of Gopishwara. Okay, and we'll talk about the. Huh?
I have a follow-up question from the previous question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So can we say that, as it is explained in CC, that Shambhu Tattva has 55 qualities and Vishnu Tattva has 60 qualities? So can we say that Sadashiva has 60 qualities?
Sadashiva as Vishnu, yes. The point is, when you get into these nuanced representations, I cannot say with absolute authority this percentage that you want to put it into. Okay, so I gave you the basic information. Sadashiva manifests into the material world for the devotees in 3 specific categories. Advaita Acharya is Vishnu Tattva. Nilakanta, well, it looks like Shiva, but he's also Vishnu Tattva. And Gopishwara, Shiva. So essentially, yeah, you would have to say, understanding who Sadashiva is, yeah, it's the same percentage, but there's this nuanced quality to it that Vishnu is acting in the role of Shiva for the purpose of Leela. That's the underlying current. For the purpose of Leela, Vishnu gets involved in this way as Shiva. So whether or not it's the same percentage of qualities, I'm not going to say yes or no. It's hard to say. But ultimately, the Sadashiva aspect is there. I hope that answers it. I'm not even sure if I can answer it myself. See, I'm getting into a point of trying to discuss topics about Gopishwara that are rarely discussed and hard to discuss.
Prabhu, I have a question too.
Okay.
So when we say we have to pray to Shiva to remove obstacles in our bhakti, do you mean Sadashiva like Gopeshwar Maharaj or Shiva?
Gopishwara fulfills that function perfectly. There are other aspects of Shiva. I don't recommend devotees get involved in other aspects of Shiva because it gets too confusing. Most people approach Shiva for material benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Wembley, they have a Shiva temple, and the name is Kameshvara, the Lord of Kama, desire. And all the Indians go there because they're full of desire. But we don't promote that. We promote Gopishwara.
Okay.
So when it comes to devotees' interaction with Lord Shiva, either personally at home or with the temple, the ISKCON temples, the only real way I can really advocate and be confident not to get into trouble is that Gopishwara is that manifestation that helps us advance in Krishna Bhakti. You can't go wrong when it comes to Gopishwara in that sense.
And yeah, got it, Prabhu. And is it does the same apply to other 2 aspects of Sadashiva, like Nilakant and
Yes, Nilakant also, and Advaita Acharya. Yeah. But
got it.
again, these are things that are not often discussed in the Hare Krishna movement. Okay, how that works. And getting into a whole discussion in Nilakanta will take us off the focus of Gopishwara, as well as talking about Advaita Acharya. So I don't want to get off the main focus because I can go on. And I want to get into the story of Gopishwara. And let's keep our focus on trying to understand Gopishwara. Yes, he is Sadashiva, but we have to understand why he's doing this. So let's get into the Leela of Gopishwara, and hopefully, as we get into that actual story, it'll begin to make more sense, because you'll see how Krishna and Shiva are joking with each other. Okay, so I know it's 6 o'clock. Or was it 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock. Hare Krishna.
Do the story.
Yeah, let me do the story. Okay, then we'll take a little break. So, yeah, let me do the story because time is short. So the story of Gopishwara Mahadeva, actually Prabhupada never gave it, but it's there in the Garga Samhita. This is a Vaishnava literature, and it's very instructive for all Krishna bhaktas. Certainly the Vrajavasis know this story, and this is common knowledge also amongst the Goswamis and other Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas. So here's the story. Once upon a time, Lord Shiva, he's in deep meditation. He's on Mount Kailas. But as he's in his meditation, he heard the sweet melody of Lord Krishna's flute. So he was absorbed in meditation. All of a sudden, now he's becoming absorbed in the sound of Krishna's flute. And that drove him into an even deeper samadhi, which actually transported his consciousness to the abode of Vrindavan. And this drew Lord Shiva. He said, when Lord Shiva, he went to that sacred ground, and he was observing Krishna as Gopinath, preparing for his rasa dance. So Shiva, he became very excited, and he wanted to enter that Rasa Lila himself. He wanted to go into that. It's like a big event. He wanted to join the event of Krishna and the Rasa Lila. But when he tried to enter that arena of the Rasa dance, or the Rasa Mandala is called, and this is in Vrindavan, this is near Vanksivat. You can go there. It's still there in Vrindavan. But the story goes, as he tried to enter Rasa Lila, he was stopped. Who's stopping him? Purnamasi. Now, who's Purnamasi? Purnamasi is a very specific role in the works of the Goswamis. Purnamasi is Yoga Maya personified. Purnamasi is actually an expansion of Radharani, and it's the Yoga Maya principle that she signifies, which is Yoga Maya as compared to Mahamaya. The Yoga Maya principle brings us closer to the spiritual world, deepens our principle of devotion to Krishna, Radha and Krishna. So Purnamasi stops him and says, okay, Lord Shiva, if you want to take part in the Rasa Leela, you got to get permission. Who you got to get permission from? You got to get permission from Vrinda Devi. So who's Vrinda Devi? We worship Vrinda Devi in the form of Tulsi Maharani. But it's interesting to note in this connection that Purnamasi as Yogamaya is acting as the guru of all Vrajavasis, including Vrinda Devi. So Purnamasi said, okay, I'm going to take you to see Vrinda. So Vrinda then instructed him that, Lord Shiva, because you're in the male form, you can't take part in the rasa dance. That only females, gopis, are allowed to participate in this most exclusive pastime. Lord Krishna, he's known as the supreme enjoyer, or Purusha, and he alone enjoys the rasa dance with the females, known as Prakriti, the gopi expansions of Srimati Radharani. So, being in a male form, Vrinda Devi said, Lord Shiva, you got an attitude of an enjoyer, unlike the gopis who maintain the pure devotional attitude of being perpetually enjoyed by the supreme enjoyer, Lord Krishna. So Shiva still wants to enter Rasa Leela, and he asks Vrinda Devi, okay, what do I got to do? I want to get the form and the mood of a gopi. Vrinda Devi said, okay, I'm going to take the role of being a guru, which is also important. Vrinda Devi is also another guru within our tradition. It's a very esoteric understanding. But here, Vrindadevi became the guru of Lord Shiva, the provisional guru, I call it. And she knew exactly what he needed. So he brought him, the story is, he brought him to Manasarovara Lake, where she instructed him to bathe. Just bathe into the lake, which Lord Shiva did. Sacred waters. And Lord Shiva comes out. But here's the mystery. Lord Shiva goes in as a male, but he comes out as a gopi. Not only as a gopi, but he's got jewelry on, he's got mascara, he's dressed in an attractive sari. It's like, well, what's going on? This is the mystic power of Vrindadevi, actually, to transform even Lord Shiva into the mood and attitude of a gopi. So then Vrindadevi takes Lord Shiva and says, okay, we're going to go to the Rasa Leela. They go to a corner of the Rasa Leela. And before entering Rasa Leela, Lord Shiva is there, and he prayed to Radha and Krishna for pure prema bhakti before entering the Rasa Leela. Now, I make a point in my article that this prayerful attitude exemplifies the mood of a sincere devotee when chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. You're trying to enter into the mood of service to Krishna, but not only Krishna, Radha and Krishna. This pure prema bhakti mood. That's there in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We may not be understanding it, we may not be tasting it or experiencing it, but ultimately this is the mood. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is a long text, and the quintessential pastime of all the pastimes of the Supreme Lord is there in the Rasa Leelas, 5 chapters of Rasa Leela. So ultimately, we understand that any devotee who's under the mentorship of a qualified guru is gradually comes to the 10th canto, and he learns of this exalted dance of divine love, not to go there prematurely. We learn of these things. And devotees, especially, are warned not to prematurely jump to the 10th canto and read about the loving affairs of Vishnu and the gopis, as if these pastimes were somehow or other mundane love affairs. This is what goes on in India all the time. People want to go right to the 10th canto and learn about Rasa Leela. So we don't advocate for that. I'm not advocating for that in this message about Gopishwara Mahadeva. It's a gradual process, and there's all kinds of warnings. If you're not doing it correctly, it's not going to help you in your spiritual progress. In fact, it will backfire. You'll commit offenses, and you won't understand anything about Radha and Krishna. So the idea is the gopis themselves, because they're all expansions of Radharani, they have no mentality for exploiting personal sense gratification. Their only mood is of selfless service to please Krishna. That's what's within their hearts. So the story is, there's Radha and Krishna and the gopis are dancing. It's a moonlit forest. There's this very aesthetically pleasing devotional atmosphere that's created. The mood of divine love is explained in the Bhagavatam. It needs a very provocative, conducive ambiance. And on this occasion though, Shiva, he comes in as a gopi. Somehow or other, he was able to sneak in. He snuck into the Rasa Leela, undetected. And he started dancing with Krishna, just as the other gopis were doing. Again, I made the point in my article that the regulated chanting of the Lord's holy names can be perceived as a kind of sound representation of that sacred dance of love. Rasa Leela is fully contained within the Hare Krishna mantra. Let me go on with the story. After some time, Krishna took a short break. While resting, he said he was not getting as much enjoyment as before. He told the gopis it seemed a strange man was in their midst. Krishna requested Lalita, could you please look and see if any man is somehow here? During this particular enactment of the rasa dance, which goes on repeatedly and eternally, the Supreme Lord knew something was out of the ordinary. Lalita did. Of course, we should all understand Krishna knew what was going on too. He was also playing the role, not knowing that Shiva was there. He knew that. Anyway, Lalita started checking every gopi, but she could not detect that any man was present. She went back to Krishna and told him that as far as she could see, there was no man, but there was a new, very attractive gopi, and this gopi had a third eye. Not only a third eye, this gopi had snakes. And Krishna said, okay, you got to bring this gopi to me. And then when he saw the three-eyed gopi, Krishna is there. What does Krishna do? He erupts into laughter. He says, he starts asking Lord Shiva in his gopi form. Oh, from the Garga Samhita says, oh, Bolanath. Another name for Shiva means Lord of the simple people, Bolanath. Oh, Bolanath, what are you doing here? Krishna was thoroughly delighted to see Shiva as a gopi and kept laughing at the sight of him. Why? Because you have to understand, Shiva is the epitome of masculinity, but now he's manifest as a female. Now this, when we talk about the enigma of Gopishwara Mahadeva, this is actually the main enigma. Lord Shiva is the epitome of masculinity, but actually is dressed in a sari. He's a female. And Krishna is laughing at him. So Krishna calms down. He says, actually, I'm very happy to see you in the form of a gopi. And not only that, I'm going to give you the blessing that all the other gopis will offer you their respect and worship. Now here, Radharani comes into the picture. So Radharani has been paying attention, but she sometimes has a very contrary nature, which is also pleasing to Krishna. So Radharani is getting angry. He said, wait a second, who is this strange new gopi? You've never called me Gopishwara, Lord of the Gopis, but now you're calling this unknown girl Gopishwara and offering her your benedictions. So Radharani is telling Krishna, this is an insult. You're insulting me. I'm leaving you, Krishna, and I'm leaving the Rasa Leela. So Krishna caught hold of Radharani's hand and said, but don't be upset. This new gopi is actually Shiva in disguise. He's entered the Rasa Mandala to enjoy loving exchanges with us. I hereby offer Gopishwara the position of Dikpala. Now here's the point. Dikpala. Dikpala means the sacred protector of Vrindavan, Dham. Sacred protector of Vrindavan, the sacred protector of Rasa Leela, and ultimately the protector of Radha and Krishna. So Lord Shiva says, all of you meaning the gopis, including Radharani, should daily worship Sri Gopishwara to achieve the highest perfection of pure prema bhakti. So the idea is there is no limit to prema bhakti. It's an ever increasing, ever expanding, ever deepening divine love. And that comes through, potentially, Gopishwara Mahadeva. Then Krishna directs his attention to Shiva and he tells him, okay, now that you've taken part in the Rasa Leela, I have a very important service for you. As the Dikpala from Vrindavan, you will guide all aspiring devotees to become free from their false ego and their male Purusha enjoying spirit. Your unique service is to be stationed at the gateway of Vrindavan as, okay, these are my words when I put it into the article, as a transcendental security guard for Rasa Leela. So the point is, and I made this point in my article, many unqualified yogis, pseudo-devotees, mental speculators, they all want to come into the Rasa Leela, but you must protect its purity and sanctity. Such ineligible persons may be able to physically enter the holy land of Vrindavan in India, but only on a superficial level. Your service will be to allow selfless, pure devotees to mystically enter spiritual Vrindavan. And Krishna tells Shiva further, only devotees who have no tinge of personal enjoyment, who are completely free from false ego, and who are ready to serve in all circumstances, can be allowed to enter the circle of Rasa Lila. Lord Shiva happily accepted the service and benediction. As the topmost Vaishnava, his desire is to perpetually assist all varieties of devotees in achieving this particular eternal perfection in relation to Radha and Krishna. So here, the question was earlier, about who's the topmost devotee, Radharani, Shiva, Giriraj. Lord Shiva here is acting as the topmost devotee to allow devotees into the Rasa Mandala, into an understanding of this intimacy of connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the only way to do it is you have to become purified of ahankara, false ego, the enjoying spirit. So this is the main function of Gopishwara Mahadev. Yes, he's a protector of Vrindavan. You cannot enter Vrindavan without going through this process of what Gopishwara Shiva represents, which means he's Lord Shiva's a destroyer, right? We all know Lord Shiva's the destroyer. At the end of the universe, he's going to do his Tandava Nritya dance and destroy everything. But here, he's the destroyer of ahankara. He's still destroying, but he's the destroyer of ahankara. This is his function. This is his role. This is his Leela relationship with Krishna, not just Krishna in Vrindavan, Radha and Krishna. So that's the basic story. Again, I'm going to stop. Any questions?
One question.
Yes, Nayan's here. He's asking a question. Go ahead.
Question.
Yeah, nice announcement. Go ahead.
The question is in the sense that my little understanding is that the other gopis were thinking that they found Shiva out. They were like, well, which village are you from?
That's another aspect to the story. Yes, there are different, what's the right word? The different versions of the story, okay? I'm telling the version that's from the Garga Samhita. There are other versions, and I don't know the exact places where these other aspects of this story are related. But you're right, there are other versions where they're asking Gopishwara, where are you from? And they start slapping him around. And Lord Shiva gets very upset. Why am I doing this? Anyway, it's a good question, but I don't know the answer to these various versions of this story.
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes.
So,
Go ahead.
is Gopeshwar Maharaj worshipped in the form of Gopi?
Yes, actually he is. Okay, in Vrindavan, okay, you go to Vrindavan, there's the shrine to Gopishwara Mahadev. In the morning, he's worshipped as a male. He's a Shiva Lingam, he receives Abhishek and the puja, and there he is. He's Lord Shiva, he's a Shiva Lingam. Then in the afternoon, he manifests, he's all dressed up. He's got mascara on. He's actually got like a mask on, and he's got a sari. So every day in the morning, Lord Shiva is a male in the morning. In the afternoon, in the evening, Lord Shiva is a gopi.
Oh, wow, that's nice to know. Thank you. And thank you for
Think about it. This is very relevant in terms of modern times and the issues of transvestites and what's that mean. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself in some of the presentation. But yeah, in Vrindavan, he's worshipped every day, both as male and female. It's half of the day male, half of the day female. And you'll see pictures of Gopishwara Mahadev. Like I said, he has mascara on. It's a mask. He has jewelry. He's and he has a sari.
okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for
But this is all representative of the gopis and their mood of not in the Purusha mentality of the enjoying mentality, but of being enjoyed by Krishna. This is what it's representing. And this is what Shiva is teaching in his form and helping the devotees in their identity of how to enter the spiritual world. Our goal in Krishna consciousness is go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Now, we may not have an identity as a gopi. We may have an identity as a gopa, a cowherd boy, or as a parent. And there's different relationships, intimate connections one can have with Krishna. So this is the nature of Chaitanya Vaishnavism, is to enter in this sense of intimacy with Krishna. Not awe and reverence. Awe and reverence is also there in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha planets. But in Goloka Vrindavan, it's all about intimate connection. There cannot be a ahankar. There cannot be false ego. Krishna won't allow it. Lord Shiva won't allow it. So this is the whole point. If we actually want to make progress in our Krishna consciousness to that level, we're there with no ulterior motivation, just to serve Krishna. We're there for Krishna's pleasure. And that principle of approaching Gopishwara is just integral to the whole process of Krishna Bhakti. Anything else? Other questions I can try and answer quickly?
Yeah, I
Hare
have one
Krishna,
more.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Prabhu, Sankarshan Krishna here. Actually, can we say that the Madhurya, which is enjoyed only by the gopis, has been allowed to Lord Shiva? Did he wanted to enjoy that also, and that's why he got it, or it's
He
just
wanted
different
it,
time?
he got it, and he was given a service. You have to become protector of Vrindavan. You're a protector of Rasa Leela. Ultimately, he's a protector of Radha and Krishna. And that's my point. In the Hare Krishna movement, we're all about Radha and Krishna worship. It
Thank
gets
you, Prabhu.
expressed in different ways, either through Gaunitai, Lord Chaitanya is also a combination of Radha and Krishna, or through Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, which is also about Radha and Krishna. Radha and Krishna is our main focal point. I sometimes joke with the devotees that Prabhupada established the International Society for Radha Krishna Consciousness. Now, Prabhupada didn't say that. I know that. It's established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But Krishna Consciousness, in our context of coming through Chaitanya, is Radha Krishna Consciousness.
Thank you,
I hope
Prabhu.
I don't get chastised by some GBC or something.
No.
But this is actually, this is our philosophy. And I make that point in my article in Back to God.
Prabhu, I
Okay.
have one more quick
Go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
So, since Sadashiva appears in the Vishnu Tattva category, is he still considered a demigod?
No. That's the point. He's not a demigod. He's Vishnu. Okay. Even like Lord Shiva, just an ordinary Shiva, we don't think of Lord Shiva as an ordinary demigod. He's Mahadeva. He's the best of the Devatas. He's the controller of all the Devatas. But specifically, Gopishwara Mahadev, the proper understanding, yeah, he's way above demigods. He's Vishnu coming to help the devotees purify themselves to enter the realm of the spiritual world. And even externally, yes, Gopishwara Mahadev, Nandi is there. The whole ritual is the rituals of Shiva worship. But the devotee sees beyond that. Again, this is an esoteric concept. It's difficult to explain. It's difficult to understand. I could not put this into my Back to Godhead article. It's beyond the pay grade of congregational devotees, which is what Back to Godhead is about. I'm bringing these ideas out now in a seminar form. I hope to develop this seminar format so it's much more presentable. But this is the essential enigma that goes beyond the enigmas I talked about in my article, and that is the enigma that Gopishwara is not Shiva, it's Vishnu. Anyway, again, I think I'm confusing devotees. I don't know how much I'm clarifying or whether or not it's sinking in. But these things are, it's hard for me to explain. And I know in discussing with devotees, it's hard for devotees to understand also. A lot of devotees say, oh, Ramanatha, we don't worship Lord Shiva. We don't worship Gopishwara. What's all this talk about Gopishwara? I don't get it. So I know devotees in general, it's sometimes it goes right past them, kind of, and that's okay in one sense. For at least the first 20 years of my practice of Krishna consciousness, I had no interest at all in Lord Shiva, at all. In fact, sometimes devotees wanted me to, at one time, buy a Shiva lingam from them and worship Lord Shiva. I said, why would I do that? No. But later on, I came to understand this principle of Gopishwara and started working on me, and I started understanding it on a different level. And then in my discussion with my god brothers, many of them are very elevated souls, either gurus or very scholarly devotees. They all confirmed that actually, you're right, Ramanatha. Actually, this Gopishwara principle is talked about by Prabhupada. It's not emphasized by Prabhupada, but it's certainly emphasized by the Goswamis. The seventh Goswami is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, so many others. If we get a chance, we may not get a chance, there's a relationship of Gopishwara Mahadeva and book distribution, trying to make this relevant also. Devotees never hear this. How is Gopishwara relevant to book distribution? I'm not sure if we're going to get into it tonight. It's already 7:30. I'm not sure if we should take a break. Okay.
He had a question.
Okay, one more question here in the room, and then we'll take a quick break. Go ahead.
So you mentioned one great devotional quality Shiva showed was that he let go of enjoyer, Purusha, to enter.
This is the main principle. So the Purusha enjoying spirit has to be let go.
What other devotional qualities does Shiva express in the pastimes that gets into the status of being the supreme?
Devotional qualities is that his desire to enter the Rasa Lila, his desire to join Krishna in his intimate connection with the gopis on that level.
I mean, but in terms of like devotional qualities that we can look up to, because all of us sort of desire that to some extent, but there's obviously like a great barrier to that.
The devotional quality is complete, absolute surrender. Oh, surrender? I don't want to give up. I'm not going to wave the white flag. It sounds like a bad thing. Surrender is something that you do when the army says you got to surrender. Surrender everything. Oh, I don't want to do that. No, but surrender in devotion, that's the essence. So absolute, complete surrender. You're doing it for Krishna's pleasure. You're not doing it for your pleasure. That's the gopi's mood. That's what Lord Shiva entered into when he actually was able to enter into Rasa Lila as a gopi, without that Purusha enjoying mentality. Generally, devotees come to Krishna consciousness. Okay, you practice Krishna consciousness, you get some happiness, but the idea is, I'm doing this because I'm getting happiness. If I didn't get any happiness, I wouldn't do it. That's mixed devotional service. We're doing it because of what we get out of it. But ultimately, the surrender is, once you're doing it for Krishna's pleasure and Krishna's pleasure only, then the real ecstasy comes in. You give up your own sense of enjoyment, but by giving up that sense of enjoyment and surrendering completely, absolutely, no ego, no false ego. It's the idea of giving up false ego. That ego is what keeps us from actually practicing Krishna consciousness. But by giving up false ego, guess what? Our real ego identity kicks in. We're not like the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis say, get rid of ego. Why? Get rid of ego because you want to become one with Brahman. You can't become one with Brahman if you have ego. So their sense is, we give up ego entirely. That's not what we're about. We give up the false ego, which is our enjoying spirit, in order to enter into our real ego, our eternal, unique, identity in the spiritual world. We're both unique individuals. We both have a unique individual relationship in Krishna. That's what we want to develop. That's what chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is about. That's what practicing Krishna consciousness is about. That's what our involvement in ISKCON, becoming a disciple of a guru, is to understand eventually what our goal is, to understand what is that Siddha Dea, what is that relationship that we have with Krishna, with Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, it's all centered on Radha and Krishna, even if it's the relationship of the Gopas or of Nanda and Yashoda. Ultimately, the background devotion is all to Radha and Krishna. So what is our unique identity in the spiritual world? That's what we're trying to achieve. And we will never get there with ego identity, the Purusha enjoying spirit. That's the essence. It may manifest in different ways, and it's a journey. Krishna consciousness is a journey. Going back to the spiritual world is a journey. For some devotees, it may be a journey that may last many lifetimes. We try to emphasize and encourage why many lifetimes. Achieve it in this one lifetime. Anyway, I think I'm getting sidetracked a little bit. Many nice questions. Thank you very much. I think we're going to take a 5-minute break, though. Okay? Is that okay? We'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, recording's in progress. Okay, so anyway, those videos are going to be there, and we'll send them out. If there's any questions about the video part of my presentation, it will have to come after, because I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and time is short. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Okay, this next section is called Prayers to Gopishwara Mahadeva. So again, Prabhupada did not give us specific prayers, but guess what? There is one very prominent Vaishnava Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti, he wrote a lot about the intimate pastimes of Krishna, Radha and Krishna, and every day, actually, in every ISKCON temple, we chant the Guru Vastakam prayers from Mangalarti. That's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Very deep, very powerful prayers. So he was the one that has this main prayer to Lord Shiva. I'm going to chant the prayer and then go over the English translation. But this prayer was chanted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati when he entered into Bhuvaneshwar, not Vrindavan, Bhuvaneshwar, because there is a connection with Gopishwara and Lingaraj in Bhuvaneshwar. That's a whole nother story. I can't get into that. But the point is, this prayer was not chanted by Prabhupada, but was chanted by Prabhupada's Diksha Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta. Some of you may have even heard this prayer. So it's 4 lines. Vrindavanavani Pate Jaya Soma Soma Mole Sanaka Sanandana Sanatana Naradeja Gopishwara Rajavilasi Yugangri Padme Prema Prayacha Nirupadi Namo Namaste. So this is the meaning. This is a very powerful meaning. This is the essence of Gopishwara in this very beautiful stanza prayer. O gatekeeper of Vrindavan, O Lord of the Gopis, O Soma. Soma is a name for Shiva as the husband of Uma or Parvati. All glories to you, O you whose forehead is decorated with the moon and who is worshipable by great sages such as Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana. These are the Kumara brothers, and Narada Muni. O Gopishwara, desiring that you bestow upon me pure love for the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, who perform joyous pastimes in Vrajadam, I offer my obeisances unto you again and again. So this is the mood, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's not just offering this prayer once, it's a prayer to be repeated and entered into and relished on a very deep level. It's just like with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and his Guru Vastakam, that's entered into basically on a daily basis by the devotees, the Guru Vastakam in the morning for Mangalarti. This is another layer, taking this idea that Gopishwara will bestow upon us pure love for Radha and Krishna, the lotus feet. He puts it as the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, who are performing their loving pastimes in Vrindavan. So that's the main prayer. Now, I'm going to go into another aspect of what I put into my article, and that is how to enter Vrindavan. Yes, this prayer is there. Everyone's going to get the article, but we're going to send you all the links so you can read everything, not to worry. But here's an important point. Devotees go to Vrindavan all the time. Not only, devotees, initiated devotees or serious devotees in Hare Krishna movement, people go to Vrindavan all the time. Now, Prabhupada has basically instructed us, we enter Vrindavan by the mercy of the Guru. We go to Krishna Balaram Mandir, we pray to Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, Gaura Nitai, we pray to Krishna Balaram, we pray to Radhashama Sundar, Lalita Vishaka. These are the main deities there at the Krishna Balaram Mandir. And in that way, we enter Vrindavan. And in essence, yes, that's how we enter Vrindavan. But here's another layer to how to enter Vrindavan, and that's by the instructions of Rupa Goswami. Now, for whatever reason, Prabhupada did not give us this specific instruction of Rupa Goswami. There's no way I can second guess why, but here is an instruction by Rupa Goswami, and he mentions this in it's called the Mathura Mahatmya. Rupa Goswami wrote many books, and he established this principle for any pilgrim going to Vrindavan. And it's basically a two-step procedure for entering the Holy Dham. So this is how it goes. Before entering the town of Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami says, a sincere pilgrim who's seeking, the spiritual entrance should first offer prayers and respect to Bhuteshwara Mahadeva. This is another Shiva Lingam in the town of Mathura, Bhuteshwara Mahadeva. Okay, now along with Gopishwara, this ancient Shiva Lingam deity, it's said to have been established 5,000 years ago by Vajranabh. Vajranabh is the great grandson of Lord Krishna. So here we got these two ancient Shiva temples, one in Mathura, Bhuteshwara, and one in Vrindavan, Gopishwara. So now Rupa Goswami, he's quoting from the Adi Varaha Purana in his book to explain why this is there. So in the Adi Varaha Purana, Lord Krishna is lovingly referring to Bhuteshwara. Now keep in mind, this is Lord Krishna speaking. Krishna is glorifying Bhuteshwara. Here's the quote. Here's the prayer without the Sanskrit. O Bhuteshwara, you will be the protector of Mathura. O Mahadev, whoever sees you will obtain my abode. Just by one seeing Bhuteshwara Mahadev, all one's sins are destroyed. In Mathura, the merciful Bhuteshwara grants liberation, even to the sinful. He is very dear to me. How is it possible to obtain devotion to me for a sinful person who wants to worship me, but will not first worship Bhuteshwara Shiva? Those who are bewildered by my Maya will not meditate on, bow down before, or offer prayers to Lord Bhuteshwara. Okay, so this is strong language. This is Krishna's saying, actually, this, and Rupa Goswami is quoting from this Varaha Purana where Krishna is saying this about Bhuteshwara. You have to go to Bhuteshwara first. Why? Bhuteshwara purifies you from all your sinful karmic reactions. How can you enter Vrindavan without that sense of purification? And this is what Rupa Goswami has established this principle, and for centuries, when devotees they're on pilgrimage to the sacred land of Vrindavan, they followed Srila Rupa Goswami's two-step procedure, which is a visit and prayer to Bhuteshwar in Mathura, and then to Gopishwara in Vrindavan. So many devotees now are learning about Gopishwara Mahadeva, but not that many devotees know about Bhuteshwara in this two-step process. I'm trying to emphasize this here, that really, if you follow Rupa Goswami's advice in entering Vrindavan with this two-step process, then you're following the advice of Rupa Goswami. And this is what Prabhupada would have wanted. So all serious pilgrims to Vrindavan Dham are advised to follow this sagacious advice by Srila Rupa Goswami, that without the mercy of Lord Shiva, a devotee may be in the holy Dham, but may experience it more like a tourist than a devotee pilgrim seeking the intense sacred experiences that only Vrindavan can offer. The idea is the entrance of Vrindavan only really becomes complete when following Rupa Goswami's complete instructions of first Bhuteshwara and then Gopishwara. Now, here's my conviction that if devotees take the time to follow this, it's a simple injunction, then their spiritual experience in Vrindavan will become multiplied manyfold. The last time I was in Vrindavan, I did this. And I have a whole story to tell. I don't think I should tell it tonight, but I had an incredibly unique experience when I was in Vrindavan, and I attribute it to this, that I actually entered Vrindavan according to this instruction of Rupa Goswami. So I advise any devotees, please, before going to Vrindavan, reread this section of my article on Gopishwara Shiva, and you too can enter Vrindavan according to Rupa Goswami's advice. So any questions on this, and we can move on. Yes.
Yeah, we have a question from Sri Rangavati Mataji, if you'd like to say your question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, it goes back to what you were saying before the break, but do you think it's all right within ISKCON on our home altars if we start worshipping Shiva Lingam then as Gopishwara and dress him with like cloth and earrings and...
Essentially, I appreciate your question. Essentially, there's no harm in doing that, but what's required is authorization through your guru. I assume you're an initiated devotee, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So that could be done. Don't do anything unless your guru authorizes it. Okay. Now in ISKCON, there's various gurus that have, from my humble opinion, more appreciation of Gopishwara than other gurus. The point is that can be done, but how to do it, how to actually establish the Charnamrita or the Ganga Jal for worshiping Lord Shiva in this manifestation, these things have to be properly guided. You need at very minimum, you need a Siksha guru who can teach the basic principles of how it works. Okay, so it's not for every devotee, obviously, but if someone wants to get into this personal connection with Gopishwara Mahadeva at home, it can happen. I have to admit, I also have a Banalingam from the Narmada River. It came to me by the mercy of Radha Londoneshwar here in London, and ever since he came to me, I worship him as Gopishwara, and my main deities at home are two Govardhan Shilas. I worship them as Krishna and Balaram. That's my personal connection, and I've gotten quite a few Siksha gurus teaching me how to do that. So the point is, you can do it, but don't do it independently. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Perfect.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if I'll be able to get into much of it tonight, but it's in some of my video presentations. There is growing interest in establishing either murtis or functional shrines to Gopishwara throughout ISKCON, in ISKCON centers. It's a bit controversial, I know that, but at the same time, it is happening. And I think a lot will happen over the next 5 to 10 years in this regard. But we'll see what happens. It's not only something on a personal level, but it can come into a community. Okay, I think I'll tell a little bit tonight. Actually, there is a beautiful Gopishwara Shiva Lingam in Germany that's waiting to be installed in a community called Goloka Dham. A very beautiful temple, a very historic temple with the deity worship of Radha Madan Mohan, and they also worship Giriraj there. And so Satyanandana Swami and Krishna Kshetra Swami, they're planning on establishing a shrine there for Gopishwara Mahadev, not inside the temple, this is all outside the temple. And the connection is then that the Charnamrita of the Radha Krishna deities, that's used as the Ganga Jal. In other words, it washes over the feet of Krishna. That is Charnamrita, that's the Ganges. And that connects then the local deity with the local shrine to Gopishwara. So that can be done on a community level, that can be done on an individual level with devotees at home. I can't explain everything thoroughly, but it can be done. But guidance, absolutely necessary. Don't get involved in this kind of worship without proper guidance. Okay? Hello? Am I cut off?
No, I said that's fine. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Thank you.
Anything else? I can continue. We're going to go a little bit over time. I'm sorry. And like I said, I have videos that we're not even be able to get into. This whole experience of trying to give a seminar on Gopishwara has been very informative for me. What to do, what not to do in the future, how to approach it. So the next portion is called how Gopishwara helps to deepen our love for Radha and Krishna. So the process of Krishna consciousness is about purification of the heart, to deepen one's love for the Supreme Lord. Lord Chaitanya advises us to worship and serve not only Lord Krishna, but also the devotees of Krishna. In fact, the Chaitanya tradition advocates that service to the devotees of the Lord is even more efficacious and desirable than direct service to Krishna himself. It's this mood of loving devotion to the Lord as well as devotion to the devotee that brings about genuine Vraj Bhakti atmosphere. So in Chaitanya Vaishnavism, this is emphasized. Serve Krishna, but we don't serve Krishna alone. We're always serving Krishna as well as the devotee of Krishna. This has to be understood, not simply the pure devotee, every devotee. So it's this mood, that serving Krishna and the devotee of Krishna, this is what allows for entrance into Goloka Vrindavan. This is why we never worship Krishna alone. Our focus of worship is actually Radha and Krishna. Gaurnitai, Krishna Balaram, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. Of course, Hanuman, by the way, is another manifestation of Rudra. He accepts our worship as the topmost devotee of Ram. It's a whole nother subject matter. But Shiva, as Gopishwara, is there mystically helping us. We're aspiring devotees. We aspire. Sometimes we say, "Oh, I'm a devotee of Krishna," and I say, "Well, best not to even think that you're a devotee of Krishna, that you aspire to become a devotee of Krishna. Being a devotee of Krishna is a very high thing. But we're all aspiring devotees, and we need to understand what are our shortcomings, what's keeping us back. And ultimately, this aspect of what Gopishwara represents and the destroying of Ahankar, he guides us, he inspires us to ever new heights of loving reciprocation. So this is why Gopishwara and Vrindavan will perpetually remain a most important temple for the Hare Krishna movement. He's important now, but it's not like devotees are going to give up on Gopishwara. It's simply going to grow. So there are many, 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 many beautifully worshipped Radha Krishna deities throughout ISKCON. And they're inviting us to actually join them in their eternal love dance. Krishna, if you've noticed, Krishna on the altar, he's playing a flute. And in his own charming way, through the deity form, he's calling us to come back home, back to Godhead, and engage in the eternal dance of life, the dance of love. So the essence of Rasa Lila is to experience the spiritual wealth of perpetual love and awareness of Lord Krishna and his limitless love for us. Material wealth becomes insignificant when compared to the ever-deepening spiritual wealth of pure love for Radha Krishna. Such continuously expanding love is to be found in the simple but profound practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with a pure heart. Again, I'm talking about esoteric topics, but it all comes back down to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So, as a crucial part of Lord Chaitanya's bhakti movement, Gopishwara Mahadeva will continue to help devotees intensify their appreciation of Goloka Vrindavan, Radha Krishna, and their endless Rasa Lila dance of divine love. Knowing Gopishwara Shiva as the guardian, protector of Vrindavan, visiting devotees visiting Vrindavan can take a moment to stop and pray. Here, this is the essence coming from that prayer from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. O Gopishwara, desiring you bestow upon me pure love for the lotus feet of Radha Krishna, who perform joyous pastimes in Vrajadam, I offer my obeisances unto you again and again. So this, in essence, is the end of my presentation, which is based on my Back to Godhead article. I had two more presentations. One was Gopishwara in Hungary by Shiva Ramaswamy, as well as we were talking about earlier, Gopishwara as Sadashiva. So if devotees want to go overtime, I don't know what to do. What should I do? The videos? I can share the videos by sending it to them. Okay, I can make a smaller file. They can be sent. So Deepa Datri, what should I do? Should we call it end now, or any more questions? Go a little bit over time? How do you?
Yes, Prabhu, I think we're a little bit over time, so I think it would be better if...
I can, okay. For those devotees who took the time to join the seminar tonight, thank you very much. I don't want to, infringe on your valuable time, but I am going to, with Deepa Datri's permission, we're going to send you some more supplementary materials, some videos, and some information about Gopishwara in Hungary. See, that was actually part of my Gopishwara Mahadev story in Back to God. It was a sidebar article, very quick and to the point. Shiva Ramaswamy in Hungary has one of the most successful Daiva Varnashram projects, farm communities in the world of ISKCON. And part of that is a shrine to Gopishwara. He's established there. And the other part we're going to send you is this little written essay about Gopishwara as Sadashiva. We went over that a little bit. I had some writing about that. And so we'll send you a few essays and a few videos to supplement everything that you've had to bear with me this evening. So unless there's more questions, I think we need to wrap it up now. What do you think? Deepadatri?
Yes, Prabhu. I think, it'll be better, but I just wanted to thank you wholeheartedly. It's been a wonderful session, and I'm sure everyone here could appreciate and, the effort that you put in, all these research and all these, work that you put behind. I mean, it's completely extraordinary and, priceless, so we really appreciate it. Prabhu, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us tonight. It's been wonderful.
Okay, well, thank everyone for coming. I mean, obviously, this is a seminar that's close to Shiva Ratri, but this seminar also I can try and make it better for presentation purposes. Maybe it'll, 3 hours is more the proper time to do it correctly. But it can be done any time of year also. This is not simply because of Shiva Ratri that we can only talk about these topics. But anyway, this is a work in progress. And thank you very much for the London College of Vedic Studies and you, Deepadatri, and everyone that's helped me tonight. There were many problems, obviously, but I feel very good that things have been launched in this way here at the Soho Temple. So thank you all very much. And we'll make sure that you get the links to my Back to Godhead articles. At the end of the articles, I also give out my email address. If anyone wants to further correspond with me and ask questions, I'll be happy to do that. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhupada.